All right. Welcome, everybody, to this live recording of Podcast PD. This is the fun part of the live stream that doesn't make it into the podcast. But AJ is here. He's going to be muting and unmuting all night long. That's his lot in life tonight. So, yeah, bear with him.
We're good to go. We're okay.
We are good to go. All right. So, we got a great guest on tonight. We're going to talk about building community between your schools and things like your PTO, your parent-teacher organization. We've got a great guest, Christina Hidek, and we are going to get started. Ready to do this, AJ?
Let's go.
All right. Coming up on episode 151 of Podcast PD, have you ever wanted your school or your district to have a better relationship with the community and its parents? Well, if your answer is no, why are you in education? We're going to solve all those issues in tonight's conversation. AJ's here, I'm here, and we're going to talk with Christina Hidek all about parent-teacher organizations and how to build a good partnership with some great strategies for a stronger school community. Let's start the show. This is Podcast PD, the show that provides you with anytime, anywhere professional development. Our conversations and guests will provide you with the learning you might get in a faculty meeting or on a PD day. Except you're going to have more fun with AJ Bianco and me, Chris Nessie. Let's start the show. What is up, Podcast PD people? It is the end of September. The school year is underway. My name is Chris, as you know, and I'm joined by the podcast paisan, AJ Bianco. What is up, buddy?
What is going on, Christopher? Yeah, we are rocking and rolling to start the school year.
You sound like crap.
I sound great. You know it.
You do. You have this Barry White Shaft thing going on.
Right,
so
right.
People might need to pull their cars over and enjoy the show.
There you go.
You doing good?
I'm doing great, man. It's just a typical weekend here in Jersey with the family. You know, sports, and more sports.
Sports, and more sports. You do a lot of sports.
It's not even me doing it. I wish it was me. I'm just there like chauffeuring and watching and rooting and coaching and doing all that kind of stuff.
All right. Well, I mean, I'm still playing pickleball until I play inside. I got Sunday softball. I teach too. I mean, school is good. School is good for you.
Right. Yeah, school's good. School's good. So we're off to a great start. We're ready to roll. Like it's October already, man. Like this is the quickest month I've ever experienced. I gotta be honest with you.
It has been a quick month, but all positive.
All positive.
All positive. The sun always shines on both of us.
That's the way it goes.
Yes. Speaking of the sun shining, we have a wonderful guest joining us tonight. I mentioned her name in the opening, Christina Hidek. She has been a PTO volunteer leader with 15 plus years of experiences. She's the founder of PTO Answers, which is a 8,000 plus member Facebook community. And she's the author of the book, The Principal's Parent Group Playbook, Practical PTO Partnership Strategies for a Stronger School Community. And she joins us now on Podcast PD. Welcome, Christina.
Well, hello. That was a fantastic introduction, I have to say.
It only works when people do fantastic stuff. So all praise to you.
Well, I love where we're starting off. Let me just say, perfect place. Tell me more.
Christina, where are you coming to us from?
I'm on the east side of Cleveland, Ohio.
The land.
The land. Yes. In case we're just talking about sports, we have sports here.
You do. I do another AJ and I do another show called The Chase for 28, which is a Yankee themed podcast.
Oh.
And I just gave a whole lot of love to the Cleveland Guardians for overcoming a 15-game deficit. What are your thoughts?
I love the Guardians. I am not a huge sports fan, even though I married one. So then I don't have to be.
You're stuck in it.
Well, yeah. And he's from Pittsburgh. So he's a Pittsburgh fan living in Cleveland. So that is a little rough. But the only sport that I follow, I went to the University of Kentucky for undergrad. And so I follow March Madness. That's really, and then when they lose, then I'm out. So, I'm totally a fair weather fan.
story. It's like when you run your bracket. As soon as your bracket's done, you're out.
That's right. I have slightly other things going on that I need to pay attention to. So only so much time in a day.
All right. So speaking of only so much time in a day, and Christina, you'll learn very quickly, I make sometimes really great transitions.
Yeah.
Quiet you. Or sometimes they're not so great. So speaking of little time in the day and making the most of it, you have done a lot over a decade and a half with this, the PTO. A lot of people might be familiar with the term PTA. So can you give us a little bit more information about what it is that you do? And, you've got a book, and kind of what are you doing to change education?
Wow, I could go on all night. So we'll just start with, I think a basic that some people in education don't understand is the difference between PTA and PTO. And so maybe I thought that might be a good place to start, since the focus of your podcast is PD. So we want to have a clear understanding of what we're talking about. People think that there's like a huge difference. It's really not. So all PTOs and PTAs are just groups of parents who are looking to improve their school community and support the students and the staff. So if they're a PTA, it means that they fall under an umbrella organization that funnels all the way up to the national PTA. If they're a PTO, that means they're outside of that umbrella. Does not mean that they are not as valuable. It does not mean that they're worse than, that PTA groups are better. It just is different. It's kind of like chocolate, well, I shouldn't say, because some people really might not like chocolate with nuts in it, and other people might, but I don't have a great comparison. They're more alike than different. And so you can, on almost all cases, you can treat them the same.
What sparked your desire to get involved and be an active parent?
Yeah. So my mom is actually a retired educator. She finished up in professional development and coaching. And so I've always had her as kind of a guiding force in my life. And so she was not always involved, because it kind of got to be tricky. Like in 7th grade, I was placed in her homeroom. Oops. Like, I don't know why. I don't know who's doing the scheduling. And so I was in her homeroom for like a week. And then someone was like, this is not a good idea to have a middle schooler in with her mother for homeroom. And so my schedule got turned around, but I think she had trouble like balancing like all or wearing the different hats in the same building where she was teaching. But early on in my education, she was there. I remember her involved as a parent, like not teaching for a couple of years. When I was younger, we lived in Canada. And so she didn't have a teaching license that was valid in Canada. So she was not teaching in a school there. And I just remember they did like this wonderful carnival that was, the booths were made out of old appliance boxes and just like moving wardrobes, like the clothing, the huge things. And I just remember that being so magical. And then in 5th grade, so that was like 2nd, 3rd, and 4th grade, we lived in Canada. In 5th grade, I remember the PTO organizing a school talent show at night. And that was just like really magical. So I've always had these like really positive experiences with the PTO. And because I think also because of the connection that I had with my mom and seeing how she was working in her relationship with students, I knew that kind of the ticket to success is to make your children's teachers happy, because then your kids will be happy and then you are happy. So I am doing it for the betterment of all, but I do get a lot of, benefits. So I understood that kind of rolled down. So when I had the opportunity to get involved, I did right away, because you get to meet a whole bunch of new parents, and there's so many things in life that aren't written down and that they're assumed that but you don't. And so either you have to go through it, and it's trial by fire, where either you figure it out the easy way or the hard way, or you have someone to help you along the way. And so I thought, of course I'll get involved and see what is going to, what the PTO is doing. And so I've just continued to be involved at every single one of my children's school. I've been president 6 different times, with 6 different organizations. And So I don't know. I'm just kind of a volunteer nerd. Really, I love to help. I am a problem solver at heart. Like I love to fix my own appliances because that's a puzzle. You can figure out a puzzle. So I fixed my washing machine. I didn't actually fix it. I diagnosed the issue. I purchased the part and I said, husband, here's how you fix it. So I made him go do it, but I did all the legwork and fixed my refrigerator one time when it was frosting over very weirdly. And I just take the same approach to things at school. Like if something is not working, so many parents default just to being the complainer and just negative Nellies. And that's not me. If I see a problem, I will think about it and come up with solutions. So the immediate past superintendent of our schools, I had a really fantastic relationship with her because I always went to her with solutions. I was never just complaining. So she would always make time for me because she knew I wasn't just going to be, making a ruckus without balancing that out with, here's some ideas I have. For example, one time I just noticed they had hired a new communications expert for like social media, and they were using very formal language on social media. And I'm like, that's not what social media is. So like, this may have been appropriate 10 years ago, but here's where we are. And if you truly want to get people to pay attention to what you're saying, you need to say it in a different way. And she was like, I was like, your words just need to be jazzier. And she's like, tell me more about the jazziness. So I had a meeting and I was like, here's where, and she brought her communications expert. And I felt kind of bad taking him to task, but I'm like, I don't care that you're following AP format. Like, that's not where we're at. This is not a news release. It's social media. Like, you're supposed to get people excited.
Yeah. No. I mean, as somebody who runs the social media in this example, I do the Instagram for the high school I work in, and I control the X account, and I do the school website in addition to teaching a full schedule.
Sure.
It's important to meet people where they are.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And I'll be honest, part of what you're saying, I'm thinking, is Christina a teacher? And if she's not, why? Like, you sound like you'd be this amazing teacher with this mentality and approach to education.
I do not have the patience that is required.
Some days I don't either.
For myself, because I think, yes, I do actually love to teach. And that's what people go, why did you start PTO Answers? And the answer is because I did not see the information out there that I personally needed. I saw a lot of vanilla, generic advice, like you just try and get along, it'll be fine. No, the answer is sometimes you have to have a conversation with someone who's made a commitment, a volunteer commitment, but it's still a commitment. You have to be like, hey, so I noticed you said you could do XYZ and I haven't seen XYZ. So like, can you still do that? Or do you need some help? Or maybe has something else come up in your life and we need to find somebody else to do it? Like, you have to have that hard conversation, and you can't expect that everyone's just going to do what they say they're going to do, because that's not how humans work. Life happens and people are too embarrassed to say, I can't do this, because we all want to be seen as 100% competent at all times and never making a mistake. But we are human, and so stuff is going to come up. So I think I teach, but not in a classroom. I made my own classroom.
The world is your classroom.
That's ultimate cheddar. That's
yes.
Really cheddar.
Yes. Christina, obviously, from your perspective as a parent, what do you see as valuable in helping schools and districts, let's say, align their vision so the parents and the school can focus on whatever they have in common? And obviously we're working towards making it better for the kids, but how do we get to that balance?
I think you have to be open and honest with your communication and be willing to go there. I've worked with a variety of administrators throughout the years, and sometimes I had a very good, very experienced principal, and a couple times we had like a brand new principal. Maybe they were brand new to our building, and I always called it, I got to break in that principal. It wasn't to show them, it wasn't like in a negative way, but it takes some extra work sometimes for people to understand how the PTO operates in a school. Our PTOs, I've had the experience, they're mostly healthy. Sometimes it's been unhealthy, but the vast majority of people have been in it for the right reasons. It's not been like, for me, it's never the Christina show. Even though I love a microphone, there's a time and a place, right? And for the most part, our parents have understood that. But sometimes principals, if they've had a bad relationship with a PTO or bad experience before, they're carrying all that bad juju to the new school. And I have to be like, that's not how we roll here. Like, this is what we do. This is how we can help you. And it's only to the benefit of the school leaders and administration as a whole to have the parents involved. But you have to start with you start with the communication, then you identify what you have in common. Like, a lot of times it might seem like the parent interests and the administration's interests are not aligned, but if you really talk through it, you can find a lot of commonalities.
Yeah.
And then you have to work around it. Like, for example, one year I was the family fun chair for the elementary school and really wanted to have a school dance. Like, I've always wanted to have, do not even ask me why, this stupid theme was like a pirates and fairies theme. And my girlfriend's like, you've always wanted to do that theme. And I go, I just think no, it was pixies and pirates. That's what it was. Because it was super cute. I had cute visuals. And so I wanted to do this. And in Cleveland, super snowy and cold. And so we're always looking for activities to keep especially younger kids kind of engaged and out of the winter doldrums in like January and February and March, because that's the grossest time of year here. And so I approached the principal, and I had already been president for 2 years and had an exceptionally strong relationship with her. And I said, okay, I want to do the school dance. And she's like, we can't do it. In fact, like, no. And I was like, why are you telling me no? You never tell me no. Like, what's going on? She goes, well, so when we had the conversation, we sat down, she goes, it's really an issue of head lice. Like, because in January, February, March, it's cold. So they're bringing coats. Schools are not equipped to deal with adult coat storage and kid coat storage. So I said, okay, if that's the issue, can we still have the same event, but have it earlier to where there's no coats? And she greenlit that. So that was the one sticking point. And if we hadn't had a conversation about it, maybe we never would have gotten to yes. But she was willing to meet us halfway and tell us what the true issue was. And then we came in with a solution that worked. And then it was not pixies and pirates. Sadly, we just decided to split up the boys and girls because there were just too many kiddos. It was just easier to split it up by boys and girls. Yeah. So.
AJ, where did you want to go?
Yeah. So you're talking about a lot of things there, Christina. And I'm a principal of a building. So I am in the second year of working with our PTA. And I think, my first year was obviously very rocky and trying to figure out the ins and outs of a school and having a PTA who is very well established and doing a lot of different things, right? So I think this year we have a new PTA president. We have some new ideas that are being shared. So I guess as a principal, what can I do, since we have a brand new president, what can I do or what can other principals do to have a stronger relationship with our PTO and our PTA?
You need to have a strong relationship with the larger organization. Should be funneled through the president of the group, because they are not the head decision maker, but they are the lead kind of communicator and like the point person. And so it'll save you as administrator a lot of time by just going to the person that the group elected or the person that volunteered, and self-nominated to be in that position. And really, you need to meet with them like on a regular basis and get on the same page. So I always recommend getting your very first meeting should be either right before school ends or right after school ends, depending on everyone's scheduling. I know the end of the year is like such a crazy time. So if you are already at that school, you meet then. So May or June or whenever, the end of the school term is for you. And then establish some goals. Tell them what you want to do for the next year. What are your visions? What are their visions? Where do they align? Where can the PTO really support you, either through funding or maybe the idea needs to be fleshed out a little bit more. Maybe you need people to make it happen. And then you meet again right before school starts, because in the PTO, the whole idea is that the PTO will then, the president will take the conversation back to the rest of the group, and they will plan based on the information that you guys have talked about. And then when they come in back in the fall, they can say, okay, here's where we're at. Everyone touch base and map out, the vision for the school year then, because maybe some things, you've postponed because the grant didn't come in, or maybe the grant did come in. And so you can do this now, and you didn't expect to have this funding or this project available, but you need some help to implement it. And then you continue to meet on a monthly basis with the president. And then also you got to go to the PTO meetings. Maybe not every single one, but if you can go, or your teacher liaison can go, that's super helpful. And you can also, if you have an assistant principal, it just needs to be somebody there from the administration. Could even be the superintendent. Maybe they want to pop in, because the truth is, the deeper, the more well-established the network of connections from parents to school leaders, then that's only going to benefit everybody in the long term.
So I appreciate those ideas, and I think a lot of that is, it's kind of established now. I think we did that this year, so I like those things that you're saying, and I think we're pretty much on the same page. Like always, there's going to be disagreements and things that visions don't line up, right?
Mm-hmm.
But let's say I've done all that, right? Let's say now we've established our relationship. What are the biggest mistakes, or what could go wrong between the relationship now with the PTO and administration? What are some things that you have noticed that the communication falls apart, or planning doesn't go right? What are some of the things that stand out to you that are just a miss?
I think it's failing to value the parent perspective. Parents are very valuable in many different ways. In my school district, it is we have two communities who come together. One is majority Black, the other, and younger, I think their average age is like 35, 36 is the average age of the community. So very young, very vibrant, very diverse. Then the other community, average age is in the upper 60s and mostly white. And so the schools don't necessarily reflect the makeup of the communities. A lot of kids get pulled to go to private schools, charter schools. Like Ohio has got like a ton of charter schools and have a voucher program. So anyway, in my community, we have a really big problem with the big exodus of families at fourth grade, locations our buildings are broken up from, K to 3, 4 to 6, 7, 8, and then 9 to 12, right? So you have lower elementary, upper elementary, middle, and then high school. So fourth grade, a lot of parents are taken off for them. So there's in my community, just a lot of rumors about why the high school is unsafe, or why you don't want to be with those kids. A lot of coded, really racist language and rumors for things that happened, I'm not kidding, a decade ago, that it's still chatted about at the pool. And PTO parents know that that's not the case, because we're involved. We're in the schools. We see what's going on. So we can be dispelling those myths. And a lot of times those are the conversations that we're having at birthday parties or poolside, because that's school officials can't be there. They're not sliding into the birthday party to be talking about that. So I think not taking advantage of that opportunity would be a big one, or minimizing the parent involvement to be just party planners or fundraisers. That would be a huge mistake. I think not valuing the PTO enough to show up. Like at my high school, unfortunately, we had a complete changeover in administration due to the death of the head principal. And it was a little traumatic for everybody. And so everyone kind of went either to a different school system or a different school within the district. So we had a whole new crew in last year who didn't understand what the deal was, and they didn't come to a single PTO meeting. And our relationship kind of fell apart, where it had been very, very good and very, very strong with the last administration. So I don't know. That's like, I could go on all night about. I think it's just miscommunication and not valuing or respecting each other, because everybody has the role of the principal is just as valuable as the role of the parents, is just as valuable as the role of the teachers. Like those are the three main stakeholders that need to be working together to strengthen the school community. And if you don't have one of those three legs, then you're going to not be level. You're going to be trying to always make up for the deficit, and it's going to be more difficult.
That makes a lot of sense. Let's be honest. I want to shift gears a little bit to the other side, but again, I want your perspective, Christina. Let's say you have a school and the school wants to have more parental involvement and can't seem to drum it up and can't foster it, and but desperately wants to, and it wants parents to be involved and have a PTO. Maybe they don't.
Yeah.
How do you start that, or how do you get the community, I guess, to invest in the school? What are your thoughts on that as a parent not in the school system?
So part of that, and I don't want to prop my book, but my book has a step-by-step process. So I'll just give you a little preview, because it's laid out in stark detail there. Because I thought, let's just boil this down. You know nothing. It was really written for a principal who exactly wants that. And so the very first step is just start talking with parents. Because I think if there is not a PTO, then there's probably a communication issue where parents are assuming that PTO means bake sale and room parent or room party planners. Words. That's their that's their perception of what PTOs do. Maybe they don't understand. They don't see the larger vision for what PTOs could be doing. So you need to start with looking at who's already coming into your building to volunteer in the classrooms and say, hey, I would like to kind of formalize things so we can do XYZ. So you're going to have to, as the principal, have to come up with that XYZ and get them to buy into your vision. Get them hooked. Then they're going to start thinking, wow, I'd really also like to do like that Pixies and Pirates dance. Maybe there's something like silly that they wanted to do. Like I always repeated the talent show at my kids' school because it was such a huge core memory for me that I wanted to replicate it. And so it took a little bit of time to get off the ground, because I had an administrator who was like, no, the kids are going to make fun of each other and put up all kinds of roadblocks. So I went back to my other principal and I said, hey, can you go talk to her and tell her I won't screw this up? And she's like, no, but we can host one here at this school. Then in the next year, the hesitant principal was like, I really want to do a talent show because that went so well. And I was like, you don't say. Like I could have told you the result was going to be fabulous because I knew what I was doing. And so you have that kind of really good result. But I think you have to get parents you have to get them buying in to your whole idea. And you have to have a vision. And then you have to have the parents working on a vision. And let's not forget about the teachers, because maybe they have an angle that the parents will latch onto and be like, yes, we want to do that. In the process of writing my book, I reached out to some of the teachers at my kids' high school and just said, what does PTO mean to you? Like, what is the value of the PTO? And then I learned, this was fascinating, that the STEM program at the high school started from a small PTO grant many years ago, before STEM was a thing. He had the vision to start this. And I thought, well, that's like really cool. And I didn't know that. That had not been passed on as knowledge, like institutional knowledge through the PTO. But now I tell everyone, I go back, I go, did you know we did that? Like, that's awesome.
Can you expand a little bit more? Because you just mentioned one example for the high school level. And in my experience as a parent and a teacher, I've got an 8th grader and a 5th grader, and I teach at the high school level. And I noticed that at the high school level, there's a big parent drop off in involvement, from low attendance on back to school night, low attendance on parent teacher conferences and things of that nature, which are core to what we do as teachers. but how do you bring the parents in, like you're saying, for that 9 through 12 experience?
You have to find a reason for them to be involved. So in elementary, it's all about the firsts. Like that is so cool and such a good draw because people want to do more for their kids. For high school, it's all about celebrating the lasts and capturing that transition from being a child to a young adult. Because really that's what we're doing, right? We are preparing them for adulthood. That's the whole purpose of parenting. That's the whole purpose of school, is to make them be like a functional, educated person that is able to survive on their own with rail guards or guardrails rather.
Yeah.
That's like the whole point. So in my high school, now I have not had the benefit of normal times because my oldest was a freshman when COVID hit. So I have not, it's been funky, and a lot of PTOs are suffering because you don't have, talk about institutional knowledge. You don't have information being passed on because there was the big disconnect for a couple of years. So a lot of that, the parents with the knowledge graduated. Well, they didn't graduate. Their kids graduated. We always call it graduating. Like, are you graduating this year? And we're like, yes, my kid is a senior. So you get to, we do call it PTO graduation actually. But anyway, you have that loss. So you just have to look at the different ways, because you go from an elementary school really doing like the cutesy things, first 100 days of school in kindergarten, to kindergarten graduation, the Q and U wedding. I don't know if your guys' school did that. And then, even graduating out of, or promoting out of whatever, from elementary to middle. And then in high school, you're not in the classrooms as much. Parents, teachers don't want you in there. So you kind of have to shift the reasons, but then you look for other things for them to be involved with. Like our PTO has, at the high school level offers senior scholarships. We offer a non-academic based recognition program for like a junior wall of fame, where kids can get nominated by community members, staff members. Pretty much anybody can nominate them, but it's not supposed to be an academic award. It's for achievements in other areas, because so often there is less opportunity for kids to shine in non-academic ways, but it doesn't mean they're less deserving. Like,
I love that.
You can be an awesome person, but not a stellar student. But what do we usually focus on? Grades, right? And we shift to more teacher support of funding. Like, what do teachers want to do? We've paid for the chess team advisor. I think they have like a tournament, and we'll pay for snacks and stuff. And so, and we do a after prom and a senior celebration. So it looks much different, and it's a different kind of work. But I think that's part of the visioning of what could the PTO be doing? How do we need this? What kind of support do we need? Because it doesn't mean that the teachers need to be less supported.
Yeah. I love the framing of elementary about the firsts and secondary about the last. I had never thought of it that way. So thank you for that. That's
sure.
I'm going to go bring that to some people.
Okay. But it's a good hook, right? Because you have like all the moms. Like right now I'm a senior mom, and the senior principal has a countdown in every email that she sends with how many weeks of school is left. And another parent was like, she needs to stop that because I'm crying every time I see the emails, and it's only September. And I was like, it's only going to get worse because she's a first-time senior mom, and I'm like a veteran. So like, I'm still sad, but not gutted at every email.
It's not your first rodeo.
No, it is not my first rodeo, but the principal does put it in like neon colors. So you cannot miss it. It's like
they are really celebrating the last.
I know. It's only her second year in the position. So I'm like, you can't be burned out on these particular set of kids yet. So.
Yeah, that's. I don't think I'm ready for that. I don't even know the countdown. I'm having a hard enough time getting into month 1. But all right, I'm thinking you're talking a lot about parent involvement. I love parents being involved. But how did you manage, or how do you recommend people managing that fine balance between I'm a PTO parent, I'm a PTA parent, and I'm in the building, and now I can say whatever I want to say. So how do you manage that communication between the parents and the principal and your needs and wants and desires versus, since I'm here, can I just go up to the classroom and go talk to the teacher because I have a concern?
That is just that's boundary setting by the administration of saying what we do here, what we expect. Years ago, we had, it was years ago for me because my kids have been out of elementary for forever, but we had one particular volunteer who didn't get the memo. She had like a whole gaggle of children and she would bring them in and they were very cute, but she had a gaggle and they were hard to manage. And so then the principal had to say, like, we're not letting siblings in. If you're coming in to volunteer, siblings need to stay at home. It just needs to be the adult. So it's just having that uncomfortable conversation. People in general don't like conflict. Most people, there are some people who thrive on it and they need to have like special attention paid somewhere else. But most of us do not like conflict. And so we will seek to avoid it. That, circling back to your earlier question, that is actually a group killer and a relationship killer. I had a situation with a principal. I was president and the PTO had decided to give a small, like $20, $25 gift certificate to a teacher whose family, we're in Cleveland. Do you guys remember Superstorm Sandy? And how massive that was and how disruptive for more than the people like right along the coast. This particular teacher had 13 members from New Jersey and New York staying with her temporarily because they just had nowhere to go. And so we were like, let's just give her $25 for like toilet paper, right? Like she's not going to like live on $25. It's like going to cover toilet paper for the week. Well, the principal did not like that and called me in and we sat down. Mind you, we already had a really good relationship. But she just said, I am uncomfortable with this and I don't like this because there are other teachers who have needs that would appreciate the support. And I'm like, well, I don't know about them and I can't support them. And she's like, well, they don't want to have this publicly known. And I was like, I don't know what I can do about that. So we just had to kind of agree to disagree. And I said, I am hearing you on this. This is a one-time thing. Like we've never had such a big storm. Like that was 13 years ago, probably. It was a long time ago. We've not had a recurrence. I bet that this is like, we're not going to make a habit of this. I am hearing you, but I'm not going to go take the Target gift card out of her hand. Like that's not happening, but I hear you. And so it was a little like uncomfortable, but she aired her concerns. I took her concerns and I went back to group. I said, she was very unhappy about that, but I told her kind of, it's already done and I hear you and okay. Because what can you do, right? You can only go, agree to disagree. We won't do it again. Got it. But if we'd not had that conversation, that really could have spiraled out of control. And there are other same situations like that when I've had to have a very frank, like I've had to call principals on the carpet about like, you said you will send out things for us for communication wise, but they're not getting sent out. And so like, how can we remedy this? And she was like, they're not getting sent out. And I was like, they're not getting sent out. I'm, CCing you and your administrative assistant and it's just not getting sent out. And so it was a little bit of a come to Jesus moment, but I just was like, I got to tell you, like, that's been the biggest issue this year. It was actually in our May/June meeting, like our wind up meeting. And I was like, and we need to meet more often too. Because she was like not making time. And I'm like, you're making this more difficult. So, I didn't say it like that, but that's what it was.
Got it. Well, something we don't want to make difficult is how teachers, and a lot of our listeners are teachers and parents and administrators. So your website is PTOanswers.com.
That's right.
Who is the ideal person to go there? So I'm on the website now, the go-to resource for PTA and PTO success. Should teachers go there?
Absolutely.
Should administrators go there?
Absolutely. Yes. Because here's the thing that is so frustrating and like mind blowing for me. Okay. So I was in the process of writing my book. I had looked at publishing traditionally. One of the first things you have to do is look to see what other books are out there on this topic. I was shocked to find that the last book, there had been I think it was 2023, was the last book that had been published, but it was a reprint. Who wants to guess what the year it had been originally published?
1995.
AJ.
1976.
1903.
Damn. That's close.
What?
1903. I am not playing. The title of the book is The PTA and Its Work by Julian, I think Butterfield is the author's name. It was originally published in like 1902, 1903, maybe 06, but we're talking like early 1900s.
Still before the airplane, basically.
And I thought, this is banana pants, but it just goes to show that PTOs are not valued in the way, and beyond not being valued, they're not being leveraged as they could. And so that's a huge opportunity. And also I have friends who are, in addition to my mom, I have friends, like business friends who are like administrators or former administrators. And she's like, none of this is covered in like our licensing curriculum or certification process. Like nobody teaches you how to do this. And to me, that's crazy too, because again, the lost opportunity, you're spending all the time figuring out what to do rather than doing the thing. So yes, if you
I think that's important there. Call out all of the administrator preparation programs and courses out there who, AJ, did you take a course about how to deal with parents?
Never. Well, no, never.
Not in this.
No, just not like this. No, not even understanding what every PTO, PTA, every organization is different no matter where you are. You know, I compare like my kids' PTA to what we do in my school, and completely different mindset, completely different beliefs, and completely different involvement.
I bet the beliefs are, I'll challenge you on the same beliefs. The beliefs are the same. They're there to make a difference.
Right. It's there for the kids.
That's the core, but how it comes out is going to be different. And the programs, because every school has different needs. And so you have to support it in a different way. And the other challenging part about PTOs is that it's highly dependent on the people who are in place, like as the volunteers. And so if that can change more than on an annual basis, and so that's an additional challenge. But managing all of this is more than what school leaders have time for. And so if I have, excuse me, I have like different freebies for school leaders. You can get there's a family engagement opportunity assessment. So I made it like a fun little, you love assessments. Don't you guys love assessments? So
oh yeah.
I'm just saying it's part of your world, right? So I made an assessment. I thought it was super cute to do in this way. And then there's an answer key so you can see where you are, really go through the different areas of how you are currently interacting with parents. It will help you envision what you could do. Not the full thing, because that just sounds really overwhelming, but like 10 minutes, you can commit that time and look to see where you could improve, because it kind of tells you about some best practices and stuff like that. So you don't have to figure it out by yourself. You don't have to do it trial by fire. You can learn from someone who's been there, me, done that, me. And it's also not based on just me. It's, you mentioned I have a Facebook group of like 8,000 people. So that's where I know more than just what's in my own community, just because I've had that group for so long. And there are people like international members. So that's really unique. I just helped tweak a resource I have for someone in New Zealand because they have year-round school.
Wow.
And I was like, this is fascinating that this has reached New Zealand. Like, awesome. Even the Kiwis love to support schools.
That is great.
So yes, to get the family, the opt-in I told you about, or the freebie, it's at PTO Answers /principles. And then if for working more closely and better with teachers, you go to PTO Answers or PTOanswers.com/teachers. And then for parents that are listening that have a different role, I have freebies to get room parents started, presidents, treasurers, you name it, it's on there. So
that's awesome. And of course, you can get the book. And again, the book is The Principals Parent Group Playbook, Practical PTO Partnership Strategies for a Stronger School Community. Christina, you have certainly opened up my eyes to some things as a high school teacher to try and bring back to my own students and try to build connections with my own students' families, but also some strategies that I'm going to bring back to the people who want to build a stronger PTO within the school community I work in. So
awesome.
I thank you
Well, thank
for
you
that.
so much. I love what I do, as nerdy as it is.
Everybody's a little nerdy about something.
That's right. That's right.
Final words, AJ?
No, Christina, thank you. I mean, like as a principal, like, I'm looking at the resources that you just said, and so I'm taking a peek and trying to figure out what I could do to best support, the parents in my building, so that we have.
It's easy, AJ. Download all.
Yeah, or send your parents there. There's so many. Sometimes I'm telling someone will have a question in my Facebook group, and I'm like, "Have you looked here?" And sorry if you had plans, because you're going to be going down that rabbit hole.
Well, for you who is listening, if you have more questions, if you go to podcastpd.com/151, we will have all of Christina's contact information. There'll be a link to PTOanswers.com. If you can't remember that I just said it, there'll be a link there, a link to the book, and you can email her. She was gracious enough to come on the show. She will answer your emails. I guarantee it. I can go that far and say that.
I will.
Christina, I hope you had a wonderful experience here on Podcast PD.
I did. Thanks so much for having me. I love talking with you guys.
Awesome. All right. AJ and I will be back at the end of October. And I don't have the full calendar open, but whatever the last Sunday in October is, we will be back here for Podcast PD. Go and check out Christina Hidek's book, the website, everything. And thank you for listening. We will see you next time. Wave goodbye. Say goodbye.
Bye-bye.
All right, buddy.